Well, today we have a Pfaff Creative 1475 CD sewing machine, and this machine is actually, someone bought it to give it as a gift to someone else, and it's not a bad machine. I mean, these look pretty nice. It seems to be somewhat complete. We do have the presser foot, and we have the bobbin case and a bobbin. We even have a spool retainer here, so that's good. So this machine looks like it might be complete. We are going to test it out and see how it works. Alright, here we go. This is one of those that has batteries in it. Some of these early machines that they put computers and kind of electronic controls into, they had to figure out a way to keep whatever settings you have saved in the memory. And you know, now there's different ways to do it, different types of chips that'll maintain their memory when they're shut off. But you know, back when this was made, and I'm not sure when that was, maybe I'll show you. We'll talk about that later, I guess. At the time this was made, those things didn't exist, so they had to put batteries in here somehow, and a lot of computers would have a little battery on the board or something like that, but Pfaff did it a different way. They put AA batteries on the bottom. So it works great. I mean, it's a great idea and it's awesome, but when you find one of these secondhand that's been around for 20, 30, 40 years, it's got the same batteries that came with it because nobody thought to change these batteries. Let's see what we got. Not looking good. Well, one thing you can notice is how old these batteries are. Yeah. It's 2025 right now, so these are 30-year-old batteries. And that might not be the date that they were new. That might be the date that they were good until that date. So it's possible these batteries are 35 years old. I mean, look at that. Oh boy. And that. Yep. This is not going to be fun. Well, the best thing to do here is just kind of, we're going to just cover that up for now. Pretend we didn't see it. Look at that. Like brand new. Well, you know what time it is. It's time for the teardown. Alright, we're not too dirty down in here. There's a little bit of a fuzz, but the first thing I want to do before I do anything else is get to the batteries and clean that out, and then we'll deal with the rest of this. I mean, it's a big dust bunny. Hey, you would do it too. You know you would. Here we have our batteries, and I'm going to try some vinegar because I believe this is supposed to be alkaline chemistry stuff, so that's going to be a base, and we take the acid and put it on there, and what do we get? Anything? Oh, you see that? We're getting a little bubbling, so that's good. That means we're neutralizing the base that's in here. Now I'm going to pull these batteries out. I just wanted to see. Yeah, oh yeah, okay. So we're going to pull these batteries out. The thing that we're concerned about here is that up here on the positive end of the battery you don't have any corrosion, but down here on the negative end you have a lot of corrosion, and the connection for the battery is what I'm concerned about. So that it goes, what takes the power and goes to the board here. That's my concern. So we're going to pull these batteries out. We're going to see how well we can clean everything in there with this vinegar, and go from there. By the way, this is one of my plastic pry tools, and this is the small one that comes in the set. There's 4 of them in the set, and this one is perfect to fit right in here and just pry this battery out. And just pry. Look at that. It looks... I'm not a good infomercial guy, am I? Alright. Screwdriver time. Now can we use our plastic pry tool? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'd say that battery's no good. Okay, we got them bagged up. Now we're dealing with whatever's left over here. I don't even know what this chunk is, but I'm curious. Oh, it's bubbling. We'll leave that right there to bubble while we pull out some more chunks. Chemistry with Wes. So I don't know if you've ever seen on the, you know, what little kids do for science fair projects or just for a fun project is they build a paper mache volcano, and then they put a bunch of, so they take a bunch of baking soda, mix it with the vinegar, and then you get lava and it overflows and all that. That's exactly what we're doing here. So the baking soda part, which is the base, comes from the battery, which is an alkaline battery, so its chemistry is the base. And the vinegar part comes from the vinegar. I'm using the same thing, vinegar. So what are you left with when you mix baking soda and vinegar? Basically, you're left with salt water, which is also corrosive. So we have to make sure that we clean off all this liquid when we're done. The one good thing about this particular board here is that the way it's oriented over time, what's going to happen is that anything that might leak out of that battery goes down. And since this battery's on the bottom of the board, it's going to leak out and not deeper into the board. Because this stuff is very corrosive and it could destroy this circuit board. It doesn't appear to have done any damage to the circuit board. And what we're going to end up doing here is being able to put this back together and test it. And I'm not as concerned about the rest of that board because I don't see any damage from this angle on that board. Okay, we just soaked up all the liquid that was in there. We're going to do another pass with some acid and see how we're doing. The other good thing is the way that this board is angled, so you got the transformer under here, it's angling the board away, so as I'm cleaning, my liquid doesn't go deep into the board either. So that's also really good. Now I'm not getting any fizzing anymore, so that's good. So we're going to clean up the rest of this liquid in here. Now that spring right there is your negative connection to the batteries. And it used to be coated probably with chrome or something like that, and now all that has been eaten away. Maybe it was nickel coated. It depends on what year this is, you know, when this thing was made, what kind of coatings they might have used. All right, so I've got this thing dried off, but I want to make sure that we are free of any of the base or the acid. So we're going to use a little crud cutter in there. Just do a final little cleaning. So we're not leaving anything that's going to continue destroying parts. Now the last thing I want to do before we put this together, throw some batteries in here and do everything else, is I want to coat both of our connections here where the batteries connect. I want to coat it with some deoxit. So you've seen this on my channel before. Deoxit is meant to clean electrical contacts, so it can get in there, and what it does is it cleans the metal contacts, and it also leaves like a film there to keep it from corroding over time. So I like deoxit. I've used it a lot. It's a really good contact cleaner, and I'm sure I've got a link below for this thing. In fact, I've heard that YouTube always is telling me that, hey, a bunch of your people are watching you on TV. So apparently I'm on TV. I got my own channel on TV. That's awesome. So I'm glad if you're watching me on TV, give me a comment. Let me know. Because it seems like there's a lot of people that do that, and that's pretty awesome. And so what I'll do is I'll put like this QR code up there, and what that means is you can take your phone and open up your camera and look at that QR code, and then that'll take you to the Amazon link or whatever we have on the screen there. So I might be starting to do that. You might see that more often. That way it's easier for you to find the things that I use, and then also it helps out the channel because we get a portion of all those sales to help me keep making videos like I do. So I'd say this looks much better than it did when we started. The proof is in the pudding though. We won't know until we turn this whole machine on and hook up the battery, but first I'm going to do some more cleaning and that sort of thing. And normally I would just jump to the end where we're testing this machine. However, since more of you watch it on TV, maybe you want to sit down, continue on with the video while you're doing dishes or whatever, and we're just going to do a little bit of a cleaning on this machine. So I'm going to take it, blow it out first, and then when I come back we'll do a little bit of cleaning and a little bit of lubrication and all. And if you're following along, yeah, the answer is no, I did not have to take this bottom piece off first. I know there's at least 300 of you out there taking your machine apart with me as we go. I'm sure there are. Cleaning up this battery base with an acid reminds me of some of my days in the Navy when we cleaned up battery acid with a base. So many of you know that I was in the Navy, retired. I did 26 years active duty on submarines, and on some submarines they have gigantic lead acid batteries, and they're not exactly maintenance free. So these batteries you had to do maintenance on, and they were lead acid, so you ended up getting acid on you, or you're cleaning up acid off the tops of these battery cells just from normal use. Old car batteries have the same thing. It just kind of like some acid comes out and you got to clean it up. So we used baking soda and water to clean it up. But one of the things was that after a long day of cleaning in the battery well, you usually would come out of there and you wore a white t-shirt and you wore what we called a poopy suit, but coveralls. We wore coveralls and a white t-shirt. The coveralls were a type of polyester blend, I think, something like that. T-shirts were cotton. And so your t-shirt would go, after it got laundered, after that, all that acid that was impregnated into your t-shirt, even though it was covered by your coveralls, it still got all kinds of junk in it, all kinds of acid in there, just from you scooting around on top of the battery. And I say scooting because you had, I don't know, about 2 feet of clearance, to crawl around in above the battery as you're cleaning. So whatever acid just kind of in the air and on the plates and things like that you're scooting on would just kind of get into your clothing. And I mean, it wasn't enough to bother your skin or anything, but it just kind of built up in your clothing because it's like a sponge. And so you'd wash your clothing and you'd get it out and notice that all around the shoulder area were all these holes in your t-shirts, just eaten up, looked like Swiss cheese after a good day of cleaning down on the battery well. So here we just did kind of the opposite. We used an acid to clean up the base. Oh, I've also had people ask me why I'm dragging machines around on this tough surface of the tabletop. Well, if you look at what surface I'm using, this is a cutting mat, so it's very soft. It's made to get cuts in it, and it's self-healing, even though there's scars all over this thing. So the mat is much softer than the metal or even the plastic on the machine. So I'm not worried about scraping up the machines that are in my shop. But I appreciate the concern. Let's see. All right, before we start putting it back together all the way, let's get this top cleaned a little bit more. Because you don't want to do that and spray all over it when it's inside the machine. And once again, that crud cutter just like melts away the dirt. Got my picture. And it also appears that each one has a different number of connectors, so that makes it easy. Easier. Here. Yeah. Got them. Okay, and now we got to get this back one in here. Nice. Remember that time I said I didn't have to remove this cover? I lied. Let me tell you something. This sewing machine repair guy zip-up hoodie is working too well. I'm getting a little warm in here. So we're going to take it off. But if you're cold where you are, you can check out sewingmachinerepairguy.com and get yourself one of those. You know, as I'm redoing some work here, which is typical for sewing machine repair guy, to redo things I've already done. Because the second time you do it the right way. Why bother doing it right the first time, right? When you can do it twice. Anyway, while I'm doing this, it reminds me of another comment that I get a lot is, hey, you need an electric driver or something to be a little faster. I don't use those, and I purposefully don't. I have electric drivers. I have them. But I don't use them on sewing machines very often. Every once in a while I may get one out, depending on the situation, but I don't because, well, this machine, this plastic, I'm okay. This plastic is not young, and it just gets more brittle with age. So I don't recommend using any tools, any mechanical screwdrivers or drills or anything like that to screw parts in, because that plastic is is just gonna crack on you and just fall apart sometimes. Sometimes this stuff is so brittle that it just falls apart when you try taking it apart, and those are sad. But I don't want to cause that if I can prevent it. So I just use manual tools, and yep, it takes me a little bit longer sometimes. The other thing is these are flathead screws, and if you try, like here we've got a metal on metal, so it wouldn't be so bad to use an electric tool for that. However, use an electric tool for a flathead is an exercise in frustration. And maybe I'm just not doing it right, but it seems like it always moves around the wrong way on me, and it just gets frustrating. I have seen damage on machines too from people that use screwdriver or drills or electronic screwdrivers, because a lot of times the piece of plastic flange that you have for that connection is so small that if you screw it on with a drill, it just destroys it. And I've seen that on the Designer SE, some of the other Husqvarna machines that have just been creamed by somebody using a drill to tighten down screws and just ruining them. That light right there is suspect. It's got a black haze around it, so we'll keep an eye on that as we're putting everything back together, as we're testing, I mean. Okay. All put together except for the very top cover, and we are going to now put some batteries in there. You wouldn't know that there was anything wrong with that, believe it or not. I mean, look at that. That is crazy. It looks really good down there. If we were successful, it shouldn't say battery on here, and it may possibly be in German. I don't know. We're about to find out. It doesn't say battery. That means the battery's working. That means we got it working. That means that the connection is good in there. Ladies and gentlemen, we may have a machine that works, and that's going to go to someone's friend for them to learn how to sew on. And this is one of those vintage electronic machines that might actually last a little bit of time, because it's already proven to last 30 years. Just replace your batteries, please. Alright, let's try it. Alright, one thing I'm noticing here, so I'm winding a bobbin, and when I press on the pedal all the way down, it does this. When I start to let it up, slowly, so the pedal doesn't work when it's all the way pushed in. Okay, that's something else we need to look at. Alright, as usual, we've got two different colors of threads. We got black for the top thread, white for our bobbin thread, and then we are just going to give this a try and see how it does. Remembering that I don't want to push all the way down on the foot pedal. Okay, oh, I didn't leave that on. Oops. Okay, there we go. Straight. Nope. Alright, I want a straight stitch. Let's turn it off. Turn it back on. There we go. 0, 0 is our straight stitch. Alright, alright. That's pretty nice. It feels nice. This is a nice machine, let me tell you. That feels really nice to sew with. Very smooth. Very smooth. And look at the tension on that. You can't see it, can you? Look at the tension on that. Even the little accidental zigzag I did that I wasn't ready for. You see little white dots on the top, you see little black dots on the bottom. That's nice. Okay, now we want to do an official zigzag. That's not bad. not bad. Now, this is not an embroidery machine, so I'll take that. I will. All right, we want to try 24, which is our waffle stitch, which I don't remember if that's an actual name for the stitch or not, but it's what we're going to name it. Now, why are you going to do that? You see that? It's going to wait until I get this machine together to decide that it's going to have problems with... let's see, no, that's... Okay, we got to fix that. So our presser foot, let's before we do any more stitches, we're going to look at that. See how that presser foot comes down slowly? So that means that we've got some old oil up in here that we need to clean out so that this thing moves quickly. It should move instantaneously. We're going to let that sit over there, and what that's going to do is the heat is going to cool off, and while we're working on the foot pedal, that will cool off, and then we'll see if we fixed it for good. So foot pedal, is this how we get in? That is how we get in. I have a very low rate of being able to fix these without just having to buy a new one. So I'm not very optimistic. I'm not 100% optimistic on this one. But we shall see. That's what I was afraid of. Okay. We're going to clean this and see if it does any, if it's any better, but you've got like a carbon whatever sort of stuff on a little circuit board here, and so as this piece moves up and down, are we in focus at all? I think we're supposed to be in focus. All right, this piece moves up and down when you push your foot on it. This right here is what makes the connection. So this little nub right there rides up and down on this. So when it's all the way down, you've got a straight shot to this little connection, the electrical connection right here. So the power goes through the spring, and the spring connects right here, and then goes out to this little arm, the little nubbin on there. The little nubbin rubs against this track right here. And the closer it is to down here, the less resistance we have, so the more current, or you'd say less voltage as well, is what the board is seeing. And then the further away you go, you get a higher voltage drop, meaning that the computer sees a higher voltage, so it sees that you're pressing less on the thing. All right. So we're going to clean this. I don't know if that's really going to help us very much, but it could. So for this one, we're going to use some isopropyl alcohol to clean these electrical contacts and not destroy them, ideally. And then after we use the IPA, we're going to take our deoxit and spray some on there. Okay, we got our alcohol cleaning done, and now we're going to deoxit. It's time to test this one before we put all those rubber pieces back on. What about this one? Yeah, it's cool to the touch. Yeah! Oh. Nope, not there yet. Okay, we're going to take this top piece off and get to the top of that as well. But first I want to see if we got this one. It's clean! It's working. Oh, yes. Okay. We saved the foot pedal. Now we gotta save the presser foot. Wow. You see that? I didn't do that. That wasn't me. Somebody tried to pry this thing open. Yeah, you gotta take the screws out, buddy. Okay. Speaking of taking the screws out, let's see if these will go back in. What about this one? Ooh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we are just going to put that right there. I don't need it completely apart. What I did notice was a little bit more dust and nastiness. Yeah, we've done this before. This is the one that popped out. So it's this guy right here we had to get to. Yeah. Okay, we clean this guy off. We're good to go. I eventually realized that I've done this exact same thing before. Like 100% exact. And it wasn't that long ago. Okay, we got the whole machine together. Let's see, I want the waffle stitch, which was 24. And we're going to give that one a try now that we've gotten everything. Look at that. Boom. Nice. And we're going to go full speed on the pedal. Oh yeah. I must say that this machine is easier to thread than a lot of other machines, modern machines. So there we go. We got the waffle stitch, which is looking really good. I am very happy with that. Pleased. So there is another problem with this machine. We're not done yet. We're not out of the woods yet. Wondering if this one has, or is supposed to have a spring in it. Let's talk about this real quick. So your bobbin case, in this case, came with one of these springs inside of it. And what that does is it prevents this bobbin from, after you stop sewing, it keeps spinning after you stop sewing, and then it gets a little knot in there, a little ravel, which you may have seen when I pulled this out. There's a spring that's supposed to be in there that keeps it from rotating after the machine stops. And someone has deleted that, which is not a good idea. So I'm going to see if I can find one of those in my stash. If not, we're going to have to buy that. Welcome back. Unfortunately, one of my cameras died, so this is how you get my face all stretched in the corner. And well, let's keep going. So today we got parts in. We got this new bobbin case in. It came with the little spring in there, and what that is. So what that little spring is, it's called a backlash spring. And so what happens is when you're sewing with this machine and your thread is going around, it's going around this bobbin case, and then when you stop sewing, because it's going so fast and this thing is unraveling, it wants to keep unraveling. It just wants to keep going because there's very little friction in there. And so it just keeps going after you stop sewing. And then it creates a knot, and you kind of saw that when I would sew just fine, and then I'd stop, and then I'd sew again, and then have problems. And so that backlash spring provides a little bit of tension on this to keep it from spinning so much after you stop sewing. And we're going to see how well of a difference that makes, because we're going to test this machine out, and then this machine will be done and ready to go back to the customer. Alright, here we go. So our bobbin thread's looking a little tight on this stitch. Let's go ahead and do a zigzag and see if we can see that as well in a zigzag. So that is sewing much better than it did last time. Much better. So I believe that our bobbin thread on bottom, the white thread, is too tight. So let's see what it looks like. Okay, well actually that's not bad. That looks pretty good. Maybe it's not too tight. Okay, let's try our waffle stitch and see how that looks. I'd say yes, it is a little tight on the bottom, so we're going to loosen up the thread tension down there just a tad. And then I'd say this machine is good to go. Yeah, I like that one a little bit better. So we're going to call it here. Let me just tell you, this machine felt like a marathon. So we had problems with the batteries, we had problems with the presser foot, we had problems with the foot control, and then we had that backlash spring that was missing, and we finally got everything put together, and now this machine's going to be a nice gift that someone's going to give to their friend, and so that they can get into sewing, and this sewing machine will work great for the next few years. All right, thanks for watching.